It might just be a point of view. It might just be a point of view, but I don't think we're going to have the same problems today as we had yesterday or last night. But we're going to see about it. Let's get involved, y'all.
Since it appears you're calling back
I'll pop it off now.
we are reconnecting you now.
Drop that beat, baby. Yes, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. We do this thing in Saturday, not tonight. And everything will be okay. I'm so glad to be with y'all right now. And hey, we do this well. And I think we got a story to tell. We're talking about the decline of the daddy's girl today. The decline of the daddy's girl. You hear a lot of women nowadays talking about they used to be a daddy's girl. Yeah, I used to be a daddy's girl. What do you mean you used to be a daddy's girl? Well, what happens to take you out of that situation? What does a father have to do to lose his girl? You know, in our community, and this might just be my point of view as a black man and a father, we need as many situations where we could describe women as being daddy's girls as possible. And I mean in a positive way, because we know that we have a really, really dire situation going on in our communities as far as our homes are concerned, and having black men in our homes, fathers in our homes, black positive male guidance in our homes, in our lives. So when we talk about being a daddy's girl, or used to being a daddy's girl, or talking about the decline of the daddy's girls, they ain't daddy's girls no more. Well, we know that we got a problem that we got to solve, so I'm about to get involved, and I think that you should involve yourself too, and we got to find out the absolute truth. And I'm here to assist right now, and I'm going to tell you how I used to see it and how it goes down. And you just come along. We going to sing that thing over a beat. It's a new song. And I'm feeling it. I think that we're going to go through and peel the shit, and it's going to be type wreck, and we're going to do this thing. Daddies used to get a lot of respect, and a lot of them were worthy, but maybe they're not no more. We're going to find out the truth, though, for sure. Right now on the Urban Therapy with Son show. Glad y'all came through. I'm going to let you know. It's time to go. Time to take off. We're going to talk about the dad hard in the day, not soft. And as we go into this thing, yeah, we're going to talk about our Black Kings. Father's Day is tomorrow, and I got a lot of sorrow because I lost mine last year. But I hear, and I understand, and I endure the strength. Yo, we're going to take this to another length, and this is going to get long as we grow. We got to make sure we keep on this show. Let's get it popping. Urban Therapy with Son 752. And this is the Urban Therapy with Son show. We do this every single Saturday afternoon from 1 p.m. till around 2:30-ish. And the reason that we say 2:30-ish is because sometimes it gets so heated that we just have to do a little OT on a Saturday. And it is Saturday. This is the show where adults come out and play with other adults. We laugh, we cry, we argue, fuss, and fight, go back and forth with each other, bust it up all crazy. We take an introspective look into our own personality to see the way that the universe projects us into this thing called the world and try to figure out this thing called life. I am your host, Son 752, aka Omar with the and if you can't say Omar with the well, then you just say Omar with the R. Saturday, June 17th, June 18th, one day removed from Father's Day, and also Juneteenth. Shout out to all of my descendants of slaves, all of them. I'm talking about the American black man, woman, and child. Shout out to all of y'all. Your struggle is unlike any other in the world. I don't care what part of the world you're talking about. Nobody has ever had it like us. Nobody has it like us. Nobody has been more maligned than us. And we're going to talk about a segment of our malignment right now. You know, when you start talking about the topic that we're talking about today, what's going on, Stacey White? Thanks for coming on through the day, not the night. When you're talking about the decline of the daddy's girl, first of all, I would have to ask the women out there, were you ever a daddy's girl? Do you know what it's like to grow up with a father in your life? You know, a father that took you everywhere. You know what I mean? Either strapped you in the back seat of the car or let you ride the hump. It was dangerous back in the day, but the hump was the armrest in the big coupe or the sedan back in the day. But you had a lot of men out there that took their daughters everywhere they went, and a lot of these times these were men who had sons also, but they loved their little girls, they loved their little princesses, and they made sure that they treated them like princesses, and they did everything they could do in order to make sure that they grew up in the direction of going and uh metamorphosizing into queens. So that man in their life, that father in their life, laid the foundation for the attraction that that young girl would later on have for boys, for men to be in her life. Many times, the standards that a father set for his daughter, as far as manhood is concerned, was the blueprint, the absolute blueprint that could not be gotten around, could not be negotiated, could not be made a deal with, and could not be compromised. It could not be compromised. So, so when we're talking about this topic, you're talking about something deep. The decline of the daddy's girls. Where are all the daddy's girls? Where have the daddy's girls gone? Time passing. It's a serious thing. You know, somehow we got from being a daddy's girl all the way to I don't need no man. And to be quite honest, I see a lot of men out there teaching and training their little girls, their little princesses, to not need no man, to not need no man. It's a strange thing to me. It really is. It's a strange thing to me that a man would want to condition and groom and prep women to not need men. Now, I can understand to a certain degree that they don't want their little girls to be taken unfair advantage of. They want their young women to receive the love and respect and the care that they would insist on their daughters having. And in that regard, I totally understand. But I've heard some men say right out of their lives, I mean, out of their mouths, I want to teach her not to need no man. I want to teach her not to have to depend on no man. Sounds bad to It sounds bad for our community to me. I think, well, no, I don't think. I know that black men and women need each other more and more every day. We needed each other a lot yesterday, and we need each other even more today. So why do we have such a large segment of our population that believes that not needing a man is the way to be? How do we go from being a daddy's girl, like my daddy did everything for me? He showed me things. He taught me how to do things. He taught me how to be a little lady. He taught me how a girl is supposed to act. I mean, a man can't necessarily teach a young woman how to be a lady from a woman's perspective, but he can definitely teach a young woman to be the type of woman. Excuse me. He can definitely teach a young girl how to grow into the type of woman that a man would love and respect, cherish, value, adore, and want to be with, want to build families with. He can definitely do that just the same way as a mother, a woman, any woman can raise a boy to be the type of man that a woman would want. She can give him the inside scoop. So just like a woman can give a boy the inside scoop on what women want, a man can give a girl the inside scoop on how to be or how to conduct herself, or how to conduct herself in the way that men will want to be with her. And we're not talking about no nasty, freaky stuff. We're not talking about how to dress scantily clad or act like a little thotty, a little hoe, little stank, little slut, little none of that. Little fast ass. I don't know. Outside of a pimp, I don't know what kind of man would teach a girl how to do that. But when we talk about being a daddy's girl, 9 times out of 10, if a girl or a woman was or is a daddy's girl, they'll let you know. Especially as a man, they'll let you know. Like, listen, you want to be with me? You have to show me what my daddy showed me, number one, and what he taught me how a man should be. That's what you're gonna have to do to get on up in here. You want your face all up in the place? Well, this is how it's gonna go. This is how it's gonna be. I understand if you're not up to par, and if you're not up to speed yet, then you're gonna have to increase your speed. You're gonna have to get it together. All right. They had to make sure that something was the way it was supposed to be just now. I'm finding out why it wasn't that way yesterday. Okay. So yeah. So the decline of the daddy's girl. What happened to the daddy's girl? Why don't you hear too many women nowadays talking about being a daddy's girl anymore? I mean, it could be because their daddy isn't around anymore in a way of he may be deceased. A lot of fathers have passed on. Peace to all my ancestors. Peace to all the ancestors that have passed on. We all gonna get there one day. But even if your physical father isn't here anymore, the spiritual connection that you had with him will always exist. It existed then, and it should exist now. So what happens when that connection doesn't seem to be as strong as it once was? What does a father have to do in order not to have his little girl be his little girl anymore? Could it be his interaction with the mom? A lot of young women, young girls have had to watch their mothers struggle mightily with the men that she had in her life. And it can be ugly. It can be a really ugly situation when we start talking about what we've seen some of our mothers go through when it comes to men. Being with men that didn't love them, being with men that didn't respect them, being with men that abused them, being with men that made them cry all the time, that kept them in a depression. And excuse me if I'm suggesting that the men are solely responsible for the sadly emotional condition that some women are in, but there are some situations that have contributed to it. I wouldn't say that they were totally responsible for it, but from a child's perspective, you're going to see it the way you see it. You know, there are so many situations that we may have got on our parents about when we were younger because we didn't understand. We didn't see it. We couldn't see it. Our eyes weren't trained. Our eyes weren't trained yet to understand what grown-ups go through. And we definitely weren't trained to understand accountability. Who's right and who's wrong? You know, one thing is for sure. When you see if you love your mother and you see your mother cry, it don't matter what she's crying about. You don't want to see her cry no more. Because so many times the woman has to be the pillar of strength in our home, in our household, in our communities. It's a role that they have taken on, but that they should have never been forced to do. And I do feel like they've been forced to do it. Because if the man isn't home, if the man ain't in the house, who's going to hold the house down? There ain't but one person, there ain't but one adult in there that can do it, and that's the mom. So mom has to be the mama and the daddy and the protector and the provider and everything. And many women have done that shit very well, extremely well. And it's unfair that they've had to do it. So when we see them taking on such a tough task, such as being the head of the household, when the man is supposed to be that. I mean, either way you cut it, the man is supposed to be the head of the house. But he can't be the head of the household if he ain't there. But anyway, we keep it moving. When you see your mom taking on such a tough struggle as raising a family on her own, boys, girls, and anybody else, sometimes the mom is raising sons and daughters. Sometimes they're raising their younger siblings. Sometimes they're raising their little aunts and uncles. Sometimes women have had to take on the responsibility of raising a family way more than they ever should have at ages way younger than they ever should have. I know I've seen some things, and I'm sure that y'all have seen some things too. Our culture exposes us to a whole lot of stuff, but when you see your mom having to take on all of those responsibilities, and then she's dealing with a man that she's trying to build something with, and he seems to be working more against her than with her, it's going to hurt your feelings. So I wonder if many of the young girls have seen that, have witnessed that with their moms coming straight from their fathers, or not, because maybe he wasn't there. But if we're talking about girls who used to be daddy's girls, you can only be talking about girls who were exposed to their fathers, there for their fathers, with their fathers, in love with their fathers, enamored with their fathers, smitten with their fathers, seeing their fathers as a hero, seeing their fathers as the best, seeing their fathers as the man. That's what we're talking about when we talk about being a daddy's girl. Anything other than that, you're not a daddy's girl. You're not a daddy's girl because you like your dad. You're not a daddy's girl because you have a dad. You're daddy's girl because your dad is the first and greatest example of a man that you knew growing up. When you thought about man, you thought about dad. When you thought about manhood, you thought about dad. You know, when daddy gets home, I'm going to jump in his arms. He going to read to me. He going to kick it with me. He going to buy me an ice cream. My daddy loves me. He tells me all the time. My daddy thinks I'm pretty. He tells me all the time. My daddy thinks I'm smart. He tells me all the time. My daddy thinks that I'm the best. He tells me all the time. Stacey White says, I had my needs met. Wait a minute. No more, no. I had my needs met. No more, no less. I understand. Well, listen. Either you were a daddy's girl or you weren't. This is not something that you're unsure of. Like, was I a daddy? No, you know. You know. You know. In my family, my oldest sister was not a daddy's girl. Possibly she was in the beginning before I came along. I don't know. One thing is for sure. My middle sister was absolutely 100% a daddy's girl. From alpha to omega, the rooter to the tutor, inside and out, upside down, back and forth, over and above. What should I say? Over and under. No way out of it. 100% daddy's girl. She worshiped the ground that man walked on. Worship the ground that man walked on. So one thing about being a daddy's girl that you'll notice with daddy's girls is that their love is often unwavering. They see the flaws in their dads. They be like, he's as close to perfect as there is. I know ain't nobody perfect, but shoot, he hella good. I know what y'all talking about. So what happens? What has to happen in order for a daddy's girl not to be a daddy's girl no more? I don't want to be a daddy's girl no more. What has to happen? Where did they go? Where did they disappear to? T. Carey Wright says, daddy's girl here. I hear that. Stacey White says, I was not a daddy's girl. Was on mama's. Wait, was a mama's girl. I am my mama's mini me. That's cool. That's cool. We talking about daddy's girls tonight and what happened to them. Where do daddy's girls go? Do they find their way home? Back to the open arms of a dad who's standing there. See that we have a caller on the line. Caller on the line. By the way, make sure that y'all hit that like button. Make sure that y'all share the show. Make sure that y'all subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. This is the Urban Therapy with Sun Show. I'm your host, Sun752, and we are talking about the decline of the daddy's girl. Where you at? Where you at, daddy's girl? All right. Caller with the last number is 4828. Welcome to the Urban Therapy with Sun Show. Thank you for holding. What's on your mind this afternoon? What's good?
Good afternoon. I'm just coming listening in. I might pop in here and there with a comment. Right before you unmuted me, you asked the question, where has the daddy's girls gone? Was that the question?
Well, yeah, definitely.
Okay, well.
Where'd they put them?
Well, I don't know. Some people might say that, the absence of dad being in the child's life is one of the reasons why there's been a decline in the daddy's girl. And that might not be any fault of his. It could be the fault of the mother, because maybe she's upset that things didn't work out between them. So now she's robbed her daughter of the chance of being a daddy's girl. And that could be attributed to the breakdown in the Black family. I'm Black, so that's what I'm going to talk about. They could be attributed to feminism as well, and that's just my opinion. I think feminism has had a huge impact, you know, on the decline of the daddy's girl. Like, hey, you don't need any man, not even your daddy, and that's bullshit because we always be balanced.
Hmm. It's an interesting perspective that you're speaking from, because when I was talking about the decline of the daddy's girl, I was talking about daddy's girls who were already established as daddy's girls. I wasn't even really thinking about the inability to become a daddy's girl. So I appreciate you bringing that, introducing that, because that was totally off my radar. How about that?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I,
there's definitely been there's a hindrance, you know, affecting some people like you mentioned, and I didn't catch a certain part of the beginning of your show, but um, some people do. They get older, they get the D, and all of a sudden they feel like they swole and grown, and they don't need their daddies anymore. And then you'll see those same women just for a period of time, they're not daddy's girls, and then they go back to being a daddy's girl as they get older because they realize the error in their way. Most daddy's girls who fall off always come back. So I'll say that.
mm,
But then there are those women who have not been provided the opportunity to have their father in their lives in a way that would promote them being a daddy's girl.
okay. Yeah. All right. That's interesting. You said daddy's girls always come back. Interesting. Because when I'm listening to that, it makes me wonder, if you always come back, have you ever really left?
Yes,
You think you have?
yes.
Okay. Well, what did
Not I haven't.
okay?
Not I
Well,
haven't.
no, no,
But
no. What I'm
those.
where I'm going with it is,
I'm sorry.
what maybe we need to determine exactly what constitutes being a daddy's girl from your perspective, and so what would constitute not being a daddy's girl for any period of time? What solidifies you as being a daddy's girl, and what can unravel that? What can tear that down or dismantle it?
Well, you gave a great list. I there was nothing that I could dispute as far as your daddy's like your first love. Even though you do see the flaws in your father, some women don't, but most do. Most daddy girls do see the flaws, and they excuse those flaws because he's been consistent in ways, like
Yeah.
in a way that you just can't get away from. And he provides a certain level and he inspires, I should say, a certain level of confidence in you that can't be touched by your mother, by your siblings, by anyone else in the world. Um, what he thinks and how he feels holds so much weight with you. Um, and then for those women who fall off, like I said, they oftentimes they fall off once they've fallen in love with somebody, gotten had sex, and their imagery of life is skewed, becomes skewed because now they want to focus on that immediate gratification that they're getting from their love interest.
Hmm.
And so now at times a woman who used to be a daddy's girl will they know that they have to make a decision now.
Hmm.
Sometimes they put that pressure on themselves, or sometimes their partner may put that pressure on themselves. Like, I'm here now. And so they realize that they have, or they feel like they have to make a decision, him or me, and they make a decision to, to fall in line with whatever their lover wants and focus on their needs,
Hmm.
not realizing that their father could lend so much clarity to whatever it is that they're going to, and so much clarity to the dynamics of that relationship. But that's something that you have to learn. That woman has to learn. That's why they come back because they realize that they could have had the input of their father there to guide them through whatever it is that they were going through with that man.
Yeah.
That's usually why they come back.
Okay. All right. Now, it's funny because I'm thinking that if you are daddy's girl, then your first example of what a man should be and how a man should be comes from your father. So I'm wondering,
Hmm.
why would you have to leave your dad in order to be with another man when that man that you probably are attracted to exhibits so many of the same characteristics that your father exhibits? So
Yeah.
a lot of times, the man that you choose will be the type of man that even your father likes, unless he on some old jealous, crazy, you know what I mean? Well, we all know about that dad, the shotgun dad. You know what I mean? Nobody can ever be with my daughter because I really want to be with her. You know that type of shit. But um, um, other than that, like just like having a fallout with your spouse or your woman or your man doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to break up with them. It doesn't mean that you're going to have to separate from them. It doesn't mean that it's over. So why would a difference of a difference in of life ideology, um why would that stop you from being a daddy's girl? I guess
Because
okay, go ahead.
you're we are forgetting the fact that hormones are involved. Hormones, testosterone and estrogen surges, they skew your thinking and your reasoning ability. So once hormones and sex are involved, you're not necessarily looking at things the same way. And a lover is going to give you a different type of attention that you may not be used to. You know, daddy's girls who fall off because of a man don't usually fall off with every man. It's usually like that first one or two. The first one who really seems like he really into her, and that's part of the draw because he's into her like her dad is, as far as giving her praises and things like that. But then there's the whole physical aspect that takes up a notch.
Hmm, that's interesting because once again, I wasn't looking at it from that point of view because it's like, just because you're becoming sexually active now. Like I knew plenty. I grew up with daddy's girls that became sexually active. They were still daddy's girls though. You know what I mean? Like, of course, they ain't want their dad to know that that they were smashing and all of that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, they still love their father. So I'm thinking
Hmm.
that when you become disconnected, when you consider yourself to be a former daddy's girl, I'm thinking that it's because you no longer believe in what your father was selling anymore. You're not buying it anymore. Like, I'm thinking of something more catastrophic, not not something that you know, like, all right, I got this new toy over here, so I want to play with that. I'm thinking about something much greater, something along the lines of, I didn't know my dad was a liar. He's been lying to me this whole time. I didn't realize my dad was an abuser. He's been abusive this whole time. I didn't realize that my dad is really not that good of a man. He's been fooling me all of this time. Those are, I'm thinking
Hmm.
about having to change your mind about who somebody is what's going to disconnect you from them, not just
Yeah, but
having
that.
something extra.
Okay.
But like I said, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you something. If you're a daddy's girl and you find out those things about your father, you are disappointed, you are hurt. But you say you take. My father was not perfect. All right, my father was not an abuser. However, there was a point in his life where he fell victim to crack. Okay, And so, and that was not a good time in his life. It did not last very long, but it happened. And I remember being in fourth grade and realizing what was happening, seeing what was happening. And that did not, I was disappointed. I was very disappointed. However, it did not change the way that he made his daughter feel. Like I would like when you're a daddy's girl, you don't take that away from them. You say I'm disappointed with this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't and I want to and you want to you actually cheer them on to be and do better.
Right.
You know, um, usually like I said, with the women who fall off, and I'm being specific to them. It's an outside source that has somehow wiggled its way into her head, um, and causes a temporary disconnect, but it's always temporary.
Well, that's
Daddy's will always come back to daddy.
well. See, that's my point. Well, but I'm not sure if that outside source could be another man, because if you're a true daddy's girl, the man normally, usually, I would say 95% of the time, the men that you're interested in exhibit the qualities, the character, and the characteristics that your father does in the first place. So there's no
But
reason.
we can't discount the draw of the opposite.
Well,
That
what
person
I'm
is the
saying is
opposite
you
from
don't.
what you're used to.
What I'm saying is you don't have to lose. You don't have to lose one thing to gain another thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
For me, this is my thinking. Daddy's girl is being a daddy's girl is on the inside. It's not on. It's not on the outside. You know what I mean? Just
Mm-hmm.
because my if I
Yep.
see my father get into a fight and lose, I'm not. If I was a girl, that's not going to stop me from being a daddy's girl. He lost a fight. Same thing. Same thing as being
Mm-hmm.
on drugs. Okay, he's on drugs. He's not. He's not um the same man as I grew up with, because he's under the influence. But guess what? His crackhead or dope fiend ass still loves me. He still gives me the same amount of love. You know what I mean? He's just on some other shit
Mm-hmm.
right now. So he's doing his life in, but he ain't doing my life in. That man still, like, I still know who he is. I still know what he can do. I still know who he is. But if I'm thinking, if my dad always had me thinking that the way he was the best way to be, or that he was always doing the right things, and come to find out he was lying, cheating, stealing, and hurting, that might change something. Like, if I find out my dad has been deceiving me the whole time, for a lot of girls, that still won't separate them, but it does have to.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get over those growing pains. So I'm talking about what could be so catastrophic to make you say, well, no, I'm not a daddy's girl anymore. As a matter of fact, I don't mess with my dad like that anymore. I know some interesting situations. Like, I'm close to a situation where a man is currently very, very ill, very sick, and his daughter, that is taking care of him, that is helping him out, that is advocating for him, that is trying to keep him alive, is not the daughter that he took care of. It's not the daughter whose life he was in. It's not the daughter that owes him anything. It's not the daughter that you would expect would be there for him. But the daughter who may have been the daddy's girl ain't nowhere to be found. She's the one who messed up his money. Is not involved in in trying to get, nurse him back to health, get him back together. She's not involved in that. So the daddy's girl who should be the daddy's girl ain't acting like the daddy's girl.
Mm-hmm.
The daddy's girl that was shoved to the side, you know how men have multiple children by multiple women. Well,
Yeah.
she the girl who was evidently part of was evidently his daughter from that mother, the one he didn't interact with so much, the one
Right.
he didn't deal with so much. She's the one acting like the daddy's girl. Can you become a daddy's girl after the fact? Was she a daddy's girl in wait?
Sure. Are you asking?
Yeah, I am asking.
I do believe you can be, because being see, the person that you're describing who should be taking care of him, was never truly a daddy's girl, because a daddy part of being a daddy's girl is the bond that the two of you have. It's unbreakable. Okay, it may get a crack in it somewhere along the line because of the realization that your dad is an adult and is human and makes mistakes, or the influence, like I mentioned earlier, of whatever you're going through as you get older, you're growing and having other relationships, but it can't be broken. So it sounds like the first woman who you would have thought would be taking care of her father is someone who had a father who was in her life, who had a good dad in her life and who was doing a friendship. Doesn't mean that she's a daddy's girl. Like being a daddy's girl has to do with your direct relationship with your father and the bond that you guys have. And so, maybe the woman who is taking care of him, their bond did not grow until she was older. And now that it has, now that they have that bond, it's grown into something unbreakable, something where that proves that she's willing to take care of him when, in his time of during his time of need. And that's something that, regardless of his health status, he's going to always appreciate. He's going to appreciate. Like, you can't take that away. You can't just take away the daddy's girl status and that bond. It just can't happen. And if it's taken away and it goes away forever, then you never really had it.
True, but it's also possible that our definition of what a daddy's girl isn't the only definition that's available. I'm speaking it from a certain perspective, and so are you. Maybe to somebody else,
as a daddy's girl,
right?
You know what I mean?
I understand, and I'm speaking of it from the standpoint of a daddy, but it doesn't mean that we're both right. We're speaking about it in terms of how we see it, based on our own perspective and our experiences and stuff like that. There are evidently other points of view out there, other ways to get this thing done, other ways to skin this cat. Obviously, there are other ways, because when we talk about the decline of the daddy's girl, we're not seeing enough of them being developed anymore, and those are for reasons that we can pretty much find those reasons. The fathers ain't there. You know what I'm saying? But for the ones who are there, we're seeing a decline in that too. When I hear so many women saying that they were a daddy's girl, not so much anymore. What's the disconnect? And when you talk about a loving situation, from my point of view, when you talk about being in love with somebody, when you talk about being in the deep connection that true love gives you, breaking that connection, interrupting that correct connection is not as easy as people have you thinking. All of that, I'm not in love with you anymore, to me, it's all bullshit. You weren't in love in the first place. You may have been infatuated, you may have been obsessed with, you may have been enamored, you may have been smitten, but I don't think that you understand what love was. But of course, there are different versions and different ways that people feel about the word love. So maybe my definition For some people, it doesn't work. So, they have to be taken into consideration also. But when you really get into the depths of defining what real love is, you realize that it exists even when it's not active. Or should I say, not when it's not visibly active. You know what I mean? It's like the good friend that insists that y'all have to talk every day in order to be best friends. No, you don't.
Oh God, yeah.
You know what I mean? No, you don't. But from their understanding, their perspective, that's what they need. So that's what they have to have. For everybody else, it may be something different. So, um, so taking that into consideration, just because you aren't an active around your dad every day, daddy's girl, doesn't necessarily mean that you're not a daddy's girl anymore. Just because you have something else to do, just because you have a life to live, just because your interests are growing, doesn't mean that you're not that anymore. It can just mean that, like you were saying, you'll come back, but there's a good chance you never left. I'm talking about when you have actually left. Like, no, I'm out of here. I'm not that anymore. Like, I was a drug addict. I'm not a drug addict. I was a drunk. I'm not a drunk. I was an abuser. I'm not an abuser. You know, I'm talking about when it's not a perspective. I'm talking about when it is or it's not. Cut and dry. Yeah, so when girls start feeling themselves, they start getting hormonal, and little boy getting their ear, they getting their draws and all that kind of stuff. That's not going to stop you from being a daddy's girl. It's just going to give you the regular teenage rebellion. But what happens when that teenage rebellion gets personal and you don't come back? Like, no, I don't love my dad anymore. I was a daddy's girl, but when I started becoming sexually active, my dad kicked me out of the house. He ain't talk to me no more. Or he fucked me up. He wasn't interested in me being a daddy's girl anymore. This man acted like I did something to him. It's hard to come back to a place that you're not welcome. You come back to places where the door is open. So when we talk about the decline of the daddy's girl, or the situation where the daddy's girl used to be, well, where a woman used to be a daddy's girl, but no, she's not anymore. I'm talking about the hard things that will disconnect you. Not the soft stuff, not the growing pains. I'm talking about the real shit. Like, I got pregnant at 16, 17 years old. My dad tried to fucking kill the baby. I don't mean he tried to get me to have an abortion. This man tried to kick me in the stomach. Like, hold on, Dad. What we doing? What we doing? Now, maybe she excused all the years when she when he kicked her mama in the stomach. She might have excused that, but like, damn, now this motherfucker, shoot, I was protected. Now he kicking me in the stomach. I'm thinking more along those lines. Like, this man has monstrous tendencies that I put in the back of my mind for a while. I excused for a while, but he won't let me excuse it anymore. This is different, and now I'm looking at men a little different. Maybe men keep up a good facade for a while, but then, when it breaks, it's broken for good. You can't put that, all the king's horses and all the king's men can't put that egg back together. It's broke for good. So that's pretty much where I was going with it, or that was my thought process.
Okay.
Seeing you, like I said, seeing your mom cry and seeing your father do it, and then maybe you excuse your dad from doing it, but then you see man after man after man do it. It's a little tough. But forget about those
It
other.
is.
But forget about those other men. You know what I mean? When you see your mom get her ass whooped and she ain't deserved none of those ass whoopings, and they coming at the hands of your father, it can be confusing. It can be very, very confusing, because on one end, your father might be very gentle and loving and caring and attentive to his children, but this motherfucker is a beast when it comes to being a husband
Yeah,
a boyfriend.
yeah.
Like
I've seen, yeah, I've seen that. It wasn't the norm. To be quite honest with you,
Mhm.
everything that you've outlined have been extreme circumstances that I've actually known of and or seen. Uh, but it wasn't the majority. Those were definitely isolated situations.
Mhm.
I wish they weren't situations at all, to be quite honest with you. And each of the examples, the dad was always, very, very good with the children. So we had a hard time reconciling the mom's black eye. In one case, broke her shoulder. Um, you know,
Yo, breaking
whew,
a shoulder
and
ain't
then,
easy to do.
yes, yes, that's why I had to do the roof after. I mean, it
You
was,
know what I mean? That's a lot of impact.
yeah,
That thing is
yeah,
that thing is intact. you know.
hmm yeah. But overall, that like those were isolated incidents. The daddy's girls, or the daddies, yeah, maybe the parents stayed together, maybe they did not. Um, they We didn't have to get over those extreme type of situations. Not like that.
Yeah.
I know for a fact my dad made my mother cry, because of feeling, he hurt her feelings. He hurt her feelings. And my parents were very young, when they had me. But he hurt her feelings. And I seen her cry, and it made me feel bad. And he and I had a conversation about it because I was that kid. We're gonna talk about this. But that didn't change the way I felt about him as a whole. It may have changed the way I felt about him in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't even imagine. And I tried to, as my couple of friends, my two friends that went through extreme circumstances, like you mentioned, one where the father broke the shoulder, the one that he punched the mom in the eye. And I guess she did come at him with a bat and a knife, but that's not here nor there. He punched her in the eye. And I was like, I tried to imagine myself in that situation and how I would feel. And I would have been angry, very angry with my father, very angry with my father for having done that.
Yeah.
I still would love my daddy though,
Yeah.
you know. And he would have known that he pissed me off, and he would have felt the wrath of all of those emotions. But that situation for me would not have disconnected me from my father.
That's why this is such a confusing topic for me.
Topic. It is.
You know what I mean?
For me, I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
Because people love differently. People define love differently. People are taught love differently. You know what I'm saying? So from
Mm-hmm.
my perspective, and possibly yours too, love is deep and it lasts. It just it it crazy glue and gorilla glues the situation. Like, yeah. This
Right.
ain't this
Right.
ain't this thing holds together regardless of the force that tries to pull it apart. But we
Mm-hmm.
also we also have to recognize that as strong as love is, it will exist along with all of the flaws, along with all of the uh all of the pain, all of the problems, all of the things that don't feel good. Love has to endure those tests. It has
Mm-hmm.
to. You know what I mean? The crazy part about it is hate does the same thing. You know, when you hate a person, this is weird. When you hate a person, you gotta hate them even if they save your life.
Do you?
Yeah, you do. Because that's what hate does. And that's also what love does. Love will exist even if a motherfucker tries to kill you. The same way that hate exists even when a motherfucker saves your life. You gonna look at it from you saved my life so I can take yours. Thanks, dummy. But anyway, yeah, when we talk about the decline of the daddy's girl, you know, you know, how we talk about how the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. And it's true. You know, when a mom and dad are there for you and in those formative years, you know, from birth up until like I would say like age 10, it's a wrap. If y'all was good by that time, y'all gonna be all right. You know what I mean? But there seems to be a wave where that's not the case anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's not what it was. It's hard to get a child to hate you. It ain't easy. You know, I know people give children a lot of credit for being so perceptive and all of that. Perceptive or not or non-perceptive. Children are like puppies. And yes, I mean dogs, puppies. You can beat the shit out of a dog. That motherfucker is still going to seek your approval. Children are the same way. It's hard to get a child to hate. Do you know what you have to do in order to get that off? Normally, you got to wait until the teenage years when they start figuring stuff out. But from birth to age 10, they'd be like, nah, we good. We good. So it's I don't know. It's weird. It's weird when I hear you know, women talk about how they was a daddy's girl, or you know, me and my dad, we were so close before, and you know, we're not close no more. And sometimes, you know, their dad hasn't passed on. He's not deceased. He's right here on this earth, available, accessible, and it's like, nah, I'm good. And I'm like, damn, were you ever robbed of a chance to be a daddy's girl? Because I could see how that could happen. You know, wanted it.
Yeah, I was mad at my dad for like a year and a half. I was so upset with him, and I was upset with him because he was ashamed of his drug use and wanted to get clean before he, before he interacted with me again. I'd actually seen him walking down the street, um, and he didn't, he was so in the zone from the crack that he didn't even realize that his daughter was walking right next, like basically a couple of steps behind him. I kept saying, "Daddy." I mean, he turned around and he saw me. He was so ashamed, and so that shame had him, just some things straight in his life. But during that time, I didn't see my father, and I was so mad at him that when he came by the house to see me, to tell me he had cancer, then I was even more mad at him. I was like, "Yeah, I'm not really trying to talk to you right now because you've been gone, you haven't called, and I missed you, and now you're dropping this load on me." And so I left, and I got on my bike and I went to the park. And I came back hoping that he was gone, but he wasn't. And I didn't speak to him. I didn't speak to him immediately. Like for me, that was a pivotal moment where I quote unquote left, in a sense, and then came back, because I had to think about everything and then approach it. But I didn't hate him. It was just a situation where I was upset and felt like I had to uh, just figure out where we were going to go from there. But there was a period of time. You just can't just leave and not come back. I don't understand that one.
Mm-hmm.
Not when the bond is so real. It's hard to explain, but the bond is so real. I can't imagine saying I was and having that being the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like on the back of my car, it says "Daddy's girl." My dad's been gone since I was 19, so he's been gone 30 years.
It wouldn't. It probably wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. It does. The time doesn't matter. The time
Hmm.
that you build that daddy's girl a foundation, or should I say that kingdom, or
Hmm.
that that empirical that empirical structure.
Mm.
That's what really matters. And I say empirical because it is an empire. Your family is an empire. It is.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like we've gotten too far away from understanding that shit because we've become so dysfunctional, and we've been conditioned even by ourselves nowadays to embrace that dysfunctionality so much that we don't understand what family really means. We just think family is a bunch of blood members or non blood members who treat us nice and give us things. It's not. It's a way of
Hmm.
life. It's a culture. You know what I mean? There's a set of
Yeah.
principles that are instilled in all of us through genetics, through universal energy, metaphysics. And it can't be, it can be adjusted, but it can't be eliminated. So yeah, you start talking about an empire. Yeah, this is us. This is our thing.
Hmm.
So yeah, I can understand what you're talking about, being mad at your dad for a while, but of course that didn't stop you from being a daddy's girl. I mean, what I'm hearing is that you were mad at him for not giving you the chance to understand him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's exactly what it was. Hmm.
Yeah. You wasn't even mad. Like, all right, you got a drug problem. All right, so what? Give me a hug. You know what I'm saying?
And
Like,
I actually didn't get, I was disappointed, but I didn't give a shit because that was my daddy, and I felt like, oh, I could help him, you know. And he was like, nah.
yeah.
And one thing I will say is that he taught me in that moment. I may not have liked the fact that he said nah, and I may not have liked the fact that he walked away, but he taught me a major life lesson that a man, when he sees that he's doing wrong, that he takes accountability, goddamn, and it is up to him, not his child, not his woman, not anybody else. It is up to him to go and get things straight. That is something that thank God I had a chance to tell him that he taught me before he passed away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I look at men who don't do that. Like I mean I can't say on your show what I call them, but I'm just saying I was like my father was on crack and was like, nah, I can't be the father that I want to be. I can't be the man that I want to be doing this. Whatever your this is, you know. And so he was a shining example of what I should expect a man to do, not just for his family, but for himself.
Yeah. 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 When somebody when somebody doesn't give you a chance to assist them, to help them, to even accept them, it feels like rejection, and it is a form of rejection. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that was again like there was so many lessons in that one that day. It's like for me, you know, I'm a I can't help everybody. I can't fix everybody. sometimes you have to give people the time and space to fix themselves, so
Right.
to do whatever they need to do for themselves.
Right.
90 seconds.
You know what I mean? Like I think, there was so many lessons in it.
I understand. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. It's like I said, it's a toughie. It is a toughie. But rejection comes in a lot of different forms. Just like when we were talking about, love comes in different forms. Hate comes in different forms. This is our learning process. It's a growing process.
60 seconds.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when we talk about the decline of the daddy's girl, the whole situation, it had me a little perplexed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder how many fathers out here even know that they have a daddy's girl. Are fathers always sure of it?
Yes.
Are you sure that they're always sure?
Yes.
I don't know.
You can't help. It's the way this is what my father said. He said the way you look at somebody, talking about me, when you love them, you can't mistake it.
Uh-huh.
You understand what I'm saying? The way your daughter looks at you. And it
10
doesn't
seconds.
have to be an extrovert in order to look at her father in a way. Like when you guys lock eyes, even if it's like, oh, daddy, even if he's not saying, oh, daddy, you see it in the eyes. That's my goddamn daddy. That's my daddy right there. See that man right there? That's my daddy. You see it in the eyes. There's an energy. There's an energy there. How could you not know? And if he doesn't know, then that's not on her. That's on him. Then he's completely oblivious. How are you oblivious to that love that's being thrown at you?
Maybe because that love isn't always shown from his perspective. Sometimes people feel things, but they don't exhibit things. Sort of like being sick. Here I am, terminally ill, but I ain't saying nothing. I'm chilling. People running around here talking about, you look so healthy. Look at your skin. It's just glowing. It lasts for a while. Huh?
Okay.
So, I'm just saying that there are different ways, there are different ingredients in this pot. All types of different seasonings. This thing tastes good to some, not so good to others. Some people don't like the taste of it at all.
Mm.
So I could see how some people would mistake mistake a woman for being a daddy's girl when she may not be, and I can understand how somebody could mistake a woman for not being a daddy's girl when she might feel in her heart of hearts, oh yes, I am. Love that man, everything I've done. I might not be talking about it all the time, but every man that I get with, I see my dad in him. And that's the reason that I've been with each and every one of them. Yeah, it didn't always work out. Shoot, me and my dad, sometimes we fight like cats and dogs too, but he know I love him, and I know I know he loves me. So, it's
I just thought of something. You were asking about why somebody would fall off, being a daddy's girl, perhaps. And it's something you said something that made me think of it. Let's say there's a daughter and a daddy's girl, a girl dad, or however they're saying it these days. That says that he knows he has a daddy's girl, and he loses his job. Like because a lot of men feel like their worth to their family is in that dollar bill. He loses his job, and now he withdraws from that little girl or his little girls, and their relationship dynamic changes because of how he's feeling as far as his self worth, and so that distance is created and never repaired because now she is resentful, and he doesn't want like he can't handle the pressure of not being able to be everything that she needs. So maybe that has contributed to the decline, or maybe fathers, today's fathers feeling like they can't provide for their daughters in the way that they want, so they're not even going to get too close because they can't do what they would want to do for their daughter. Not that they don't want to do for the daughter, maybe it's like they can't at this point in time, and so they don't want to get too close to her because then they're going to feel guilty about not being able to provide for her the way that they would like. Um, I think that's a possibility.
I mean, it's along the realm of the other realms of possibilities that are out there. One thing we didn't really touch on, even though I talked about uh, a father's relationships with the moms. Um, I talked about that a little bit, but I didn't go deep into it. But it's the elephant in the room, and it has to be dealt with. There are plenty of I imagine that there are plenty of cases now where a lot of women may not be daddy's girls anymore, or may not define themselves as daddy's girls anymore. Is because their mom made sure that they wouldn't be able to do it.
Yep.
You
I
know,
mentioned that when I first got on.
yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely talking
You see
down
it.
about
It's
the dad.
so prevalent.
Hmm.
Mm.
Years and years and years. Comparing herself to a father all the time. Well, you see who's here. You see who does for you. You see who blah blah blah. Where's he? Do he know? Does he know what size shoes you wear? No. Does he know what size jacket you wear? No. Did he come through on this day? That thing has stuff like that. And it may be, if she's speaking from a place of her hurt, but it's really hard for a child to have a decent connection with the father when the mom has become a hater of the father, or a hater of men altogether.
Mm.
It's tough because you're being fed that propaganda day in and day out. Men ain't shit. All they want is one thing: day in and day out. They're not trustworthy. They're only going as soon as you give them this, that, and the third, they're gonna be gone. Day in and day out. Day in and day out. Day in and day out. And then these girls get their little boyfriend, and what does he do? He exhibits the same type of behavior that the mom has been talking about. And we don't know. We haven't been taught that maybe the reason that is happening exactly the way mom was talking about is because we have accepted that energy. We've taken it. We don't even have the
Mm.
ability to see it any other way, or to make an adjustment in it, or to try to improve it. We think that it's already preordained, or is pre is it's already pre-structured. It's like a prefabbed house. All we got to do is add some
Mhm.
siding to it, and hook up the plumbing, and it's ready to go. It's like a double wide,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. I have a family member who, whew, Jesus. So I have a family member who, she has this on again, off again boyfriend who has been in her child's life since before the child was born. And, the baby dad wasn't, he ain't shit, he ain't never gonna be shit. And I don't normally like to say stuff like that, but he ain't shit and he ain't never gonna be shit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's seen his daughter once. He hasn't provided for her at all. And here he has another baby on the way, all kinds of things. But this other guy's been there since, while she was still pregnant, making sure the mom was fed and taken care of. Since the baby was born, the baby thinks that's her dad. They got into an argument, and she told him, if you're not going to be with me, you're not going to be in her life either. To which, you know, once he was not around, I went to her and was like, what are you talking about? You know, so if he's not with you, he can't be that father figure to your daughter, and that's the only father she knows. So you're going to rob your daughter of that bond that she's built, that he's built with her, because because he's not with you. She's like, well, it doesn't make sense to me. I said, the two relationships it's two different relationships. And you grew up with your father, and you are very close. You know, she's her father's only daughter out of a bunch of boys. You know how important that relationship is, and you're just going to choose to keep that from your daughter just because. That's bullshit to me. But it's the way that so many people think. So many women under a certain age, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
or women in my age group who are just pissed off. You know, like they were pissed off, and this is what I'm gonna move, and I'm not gonna take him, provide a forwarding address. I'm not gonna tell his family, whatever the case may be. You know, to me that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. That's some selfish shit. You
Yeah.
know, if he abused you or tried to kill you, I could see you being like, nah. But y'all got into an argument and y'all not feeling each other right now. You gonna rob your daughter of her father?
I've
Cause
seen
he's her
it
father.
plenty of times. I've seen it plenty of times. This shit is disgusting to me. It's disgusting.
I can't respect that. I'm sorry.
It's not
I can't
respectable.
respect it.
It's not. But do you know how many people do actually respect that bullshit? And some people who don't respect it still repeat it. They still support it. So yeah, I
Mm.
mean, it's always the yeah, I mean. But listen, I appreciate you calling. We gotta get on up out of here. But yeah.
No problem.
How about that?
Have a good day. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for calling in. It was a pleasure. All mine. All mine.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Great stuff as usual. Great stuff as usual. Let's go. We have some birthday shout outs to do. Some people were born on this glorious June 18th, and they deserve to be acknowledged. So let's go about our business of acknowledging them and making them feel special because they are special, because they are special, because they are SPECIAL. They get the RESPECT. They are SPECIAL. They get the RESPECT. They are SPECIAL. They get the RESPECT. They get number one out the box, V. Muhammad. Happy birthday to you. And also Sherelle Mitchell, turning 33 years old today, and Andrea Chrisman, turning, 58 years old? 58 years old today, and Shamika Steele, turning 44 years old today, and Jai Perkins, turning 50 years old today, and Mitch Philiston, turning 31 years old today, and Jacqueline Burdett, turning 60 years old today, and Thomasina Fisher, turning 53 years old today, and my girl Motia Clark, aka Ivy, turning the big 40 today. Hey. And also Sherelle Mitchell, turning 33 years old today. She has another page. Sherelle Mitchell. Okay. I'm about to say, I know I just said that name. And also Natasha McCrae, happy birthday to you. And my man Howard Cohen McCann, turning 43 years old today. These cats be young. I'm thinking that they around our age. They not. Last but not least, my man Howard Cowan McCann. I want to say happy birthday to all of y'all and anyone else out there who shares this birthday on this glorious June 18th. I hope that today finds you in good happiness, mind, body, soul, and spirit. Go ahead and turn up, but don't turn up too loud. Just turn up loud enough so everybody can hear you. Rock out, rock on and do the damn, the rock out, rock on and do the damn, rock out, rock on and do the damn thing. You do your thing, y'all. Represent the queens and kings. You do your thing, y'all. Represent the queens and kings. Good things happen to those who wait. Great things happen to those who grind. And anything can happen to those who go for theirs. So go hard, go for yours, and remember, man, listen. We're talking about the decline of the daddy's girl. Where are the daddy's girl? Where have you gone? What are we going to get to you again? How come your dad is not your hero no more and not even no more your best friend? when they used to be. Can it get it back? I think that we probably can, but we gotta act like we know and understand that people aren't the same way that they used to be, and we aren't even the same way. You'll see. Tomorrow's Father's Day, and this will be the first Father's Day that I'll spend without my physical father. So, at first I didn't think it would be very emotional, and right now it's not. You know what I mean? But one thing I've always been able to do is think outside of just myself. Like I said, my middle sister was definitely a daddy's girl. My oldest sister wasn't a daddy's girl, but maybe she had some daddy's girls qualities in her that may be left in her. And my dad did get close around the time we was about to pass. So, you know what I'm saying? That says a lot. It says a lot. And then and it's just good that that level of care is still there and was still there and shows up at the right time, because so many of us lose our parents and we never get a chance to repair that relationship, or we're not interested in repairing the relationship. And I don't know about you, but that concerns me. That ain't cool. No, no, not cool, baby. Not cool. Peace to all my day ones, my everydays, and my brand news. I love y'all to death, resuscitate y'all, and love y'all back to life. Make sure that y'all hit that like button. Make sure that y'all share the show. Make sure that y'all subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Happy birthday to all of my good and great fathers out there. For the ones who aren't that great right now, you still have time. If you're still here, you still have time. I don't care what nobody say. I don't care what nobody do. You always have a time. You always have time to go and make your offspring and your family what you intended it to be in the first place. And hopefully your intentions were good in the first place. So if I don't talk to y'all on Father's Day tomorrow, I want y'all to know how I feel about it today. And all y'all daddies, girls, thanks for being there. Thanks for representing your fathers, because that's not an easy thing to do in the face of all this hate. It's bad out here. All right, y'all. Blog talk. We gonna get you on out of here. So I say so. All right. Hold on, people. Hold on. Let me get it together.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
All right. And for my YouTubers, you know just how we do, but thanks for coming on through. See you on the other side, my boobers. Peace, y'all. Happy Father's Day. Oh. Well, that was interesting.